Wow, that was cool.
Yeah, I just played the intro music.
Dude, you're like Larry
The cable
Magic
guy.
Fingers.
No, in all actuality, that was John hitting the licks,
I was singing.
smashing the chicks. He was singing. So, pay for his record deal. I don't even know what that means.
I know exactly what it means. I need a contract yesterday.
I need a contrast.
Yeah. Dude, I would never sign a record deal. They sound shitty. It's like indentured servitude. They're like, make music and travel the world until you hate it and then do it some more, and we keep most of the money. But you get a lot.
I agree. If I were to strive for a career in music again, it would definitely be for something that was like stationary, like a studio gig, or possibly just like ghostwriting or something. I don't know, something where you don't have to go out and do that crap.
Yeah. I mean, unless like you thrive being a performer or something.
That's true, but I don't think I do. I've never played a concert or anything before like that, so I don't even know.
Same here.
But
I did a talent show.
Let's not forget about the coffee shop fiasco.
No, that was my 15 seconds of fame,
Yep.
and it got ripped away from me.
It's because you were ripping the bogeys.
Cool, man. Too cool.
Yep.
That's what you get when you stand outside coffee shops smoking fags.
Yeah.
Standing there.
Outside Santa Monica Avenue.
Yeah.
With
man.
Darren Malakian.
And all the other vampires. Yeah. That's the life.
You're a vampirist.
At one point in time. I'm too tan now.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't pass.
Unfortunately so.
Nah.
Well, anyway, we're here with episode number 19 of the pod. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about something very serious and very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
DOMS.
DOMS.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, that stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. So this is the phenomena you get when you get really sore the day after exercising or even, doing work or something like that. It is the result of a novel stimulus. Your muscles weren't ready for that. They didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
Blindsided, smashed. But sometimes they do see it coming. Sometimes you can still get DOMS doing something you do every day. So we're going to talk all about that today. We, again, not doctors, not experts in physiology, but we know a thing or two, and we're gonna bring you the entry level knowledge that may help you to deal with your DOMS in the future here, or at least to understand it.
Look, we have the strongest level of evidence, which is anecdotal.
Strongest. That is at the top of the pyramid. Doctors,
forget peer-reviewed studies,
philosophers,
and things like that. Like,
yeah, these people look to anecdotes for the everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, rightly so. If you've ever had DOMS, or just crazy soreness is another name for it, you'll know it's like a life event.
It is.
You remember that till the day you die.
So that reminds me of the worst DOMS that I think I've ever had in any. Actually, there's been some bad ones. There honestly been some bad ones. The worst I can remember recently has been in the calves. The calves get smashed, and then they don't come back for days. And it's like you have to walk on your toes because you can't even like flatten your foot because it hurts so badly and it's so tight, and it hurts to the touch. Like you could just touch on your skin, and you can feel like your entire muscle is a bruise. But it's a good pain, in my opinion. A pain that I would take over a lot of other pains.
There was one time where I got really excited about training my calves, and I hadn't done it in a long time. So that's probably why I was so excited, because I've had this imbalance. I'm gonna sound super cool here. My left calf, it's a whole inch bigger than my right calf. It's been that way for a long time. I don't know why. I didn't ever break a leg or anything.
You didn't ask for this?
I didn't ask for it at all. Maybe it's because I need to stop jerking it with the right foot. I don't get it. But my right calf's always been about an inch smaller. It's noticeable to the point to where people stop me all the time, and they're like, hey, why is that other calf smaller? And I'm like,
The ridicule.
I just walk away in
the
shame.
Embarrassment.
Yeah, it hurts, man. It hurts. But this one time, I decided I'm going to smash these calves. I'm going to annihilate them. And so the gym I was going to at the time had a standing calf raise machine, which, by the way, is my favorite when it comes to training calves. Personal favorite. I do like seated.
May I cut in with a note?
Yeah, yeah.
About calf training?
Yeah.
Is that you're going to want to perform some straight leg calf training and some bent knee calf training.
Right.
Just to be well-rounded in order to properly hit the muscles from every available angle. So it's like a certain head of the gastroc that, or is it the soleus? Actually, I think that is more active with bent knee.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Cut in over, though. Continue, please.
No, that makes sense. That's just thinking about like the function of the muscle and then seeing like, okay, it has a function with the straight leg. It has a function with the bent. Same with hamstrings. But I'm doing standing calf raises, and I think the reason why it was my favorite for calves and just in general is because I remember back in the day, before I ever really lifted, I was more of a runner. I think we went over this a few episodes ago. I was a skinny fat dude running and stuff, and I'd hop on the machines every now and again because I wanted to feel strong. Well, calf raise machine, yeah, man, you can really stack the weight up on that one.
That range of motion is huge.
Yeah, dude, the pump. So I heard about this technique of training the calves because in the past I had dedicated some pretty like serious time training them. I didn't want to be the one guy with like skinny toothpick calves and big fat juicy legs, which I didn't have either, but you know, I was looking into the future. And so I heard this technique where you just set a 5-minute timer and go. Like go. You don't stop. And so, yep, I completely overestimated the amount of weight I could move for 5 minutes. Did I stop to reset? Nah, I kept going. Terrible idea. Because I was incapacitated. At that time, my job was, I was working at the apartments as a leasing consultant, so I would have to walk around and show apartments and, you know, do tours and stuff, or, man, even just walking from the car. Incapacitated. It was so bad that I had to let everybody I came in contact with know and just say, hey, just want you to know my calves are really messed up right now, so I'm going to be walking funny. And they're all like, okay.
And they're like, why is one bigger than the other?
Yeah. And they kicked me. It was awesome. It was DOMS to the point where like I had what you feel when it was tender to the touch, but like worse than that. Man,
that's what is known as debilitating soreness there when it actually interferes with your day-to-day activities. So DOMS is going to come on a spectrum, much like most things in this realm. It's not just on or off. It's not like you're sore or you're not. Like you might be a little bit sore, good enough to perform on your next workout, or you might be freaking wrecked like you were and hardly be able to walk properly for a few days.
It took 3 weeks, man.
Holy crap, 3 weeks?
Yeah, like 2 solid
recovery
weeks.
on point.
Yeah, it was bad, and I don't think it like all that walking and stair stepping that I had to do. I don't think any of that helped. So it was a slow, brutal recovery, and it reminded me never to do that again.
Never train calves at all again.
Yeah, never. No need. Like I got it all over with in one set there. 5 minutes. That's all it took.
So I've done a similar style of calf workout as that is set a time and just rep it.
Yeah.
Not with any significant weight because I when I did it, I thought about that. Just like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to do a lot of reps with a high weight here. I'm gonna want to keep it pretty modest so I can, go through the time allotted while performing reps consistently, not having to take breaks too often. But that putting the heavy weight, that was probably your undoing. I bet you would have been all right.
Yeah,
you probably would have got sore, but probably not for 3 weeks.
Dude, it was so bad. It was so bad because the logic there was like, okay, I can do this amount of weight normally, and I'd do like sets of, I don't know, 15 or something typically. In this case, I did far more than 15 reps, and so although I had
like 17,
yeah, I don't know, it was one too many.
17 in 5 minutes.
Yeah. They're so slow and controlled, but I think I dropped the weight to like maybe half of what I normally would use, and I figured, oh man, it's gonna be easy, just go for the burn. Well, it was like a burn that came and just didn't go away for almost a month.
It's crazy.
It was good stuff. So yes, DOMS. Other reason we bring it up is because, well, was at the forefront of my mind just this last week. It's now been officially 1 week since we smashed legs, and I had a hard time walking and doing things like that, which was a refreshing thing because that hasn't happened to me personally in quite some time. If DOMS is on a spectrum, I think that at this point in the lifting career, I'm used to carrying around a certain level of soreness. And so, like, we talk about it pretty often. Not sure if that's the pain tolerance going down or if it's just recovery going up. And so I'm actually not sore, although it feels like it when I get up from bed or I like stretch my legs. I'm used to it. Just this last week, though, was rough, man.
So I want to let's start to kind of break down the acronym delayed.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that can come out of nowhere on you. Like, you could go do a hard workout one day, be fine the next day, but the day after,
Oof.
you might get blasted.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting piece of the puzzle here in that I find that sometimes when it is extra delayed like that, it tends to be a little bit worse, I feel like, than if you're to be sore the next day after, like right after you wake up, which is like, I mean, sometimes, heck, you work out hard enough, you're going to feel it like within hours of the session too. So like you really got
Instant.
the delay, you're not out of the woods until probably like 3 days after, I would say. You could say after about 3 days and you don't get sore, you can probably be like, all right, I'm probably going to be good to go. I'm probably not going to get sore from this.
Yeah.
But you need to be open to the possibility within those 3 days after a training session, especially if it was something you don't normally do. So,
Novel stimulus.
with you, though, this past week, we've been doing mostly the same things that we have been doing, but we've been going really hard. So, while it's not a novel movement or movements that are bringing the soreness, you can still make it happen with an increased effort, increased intensity, and kind of shock the system that way.
I think that played a big part in it, but it could have also been the fact that we've been doing mostly box squats, and what drove the last nail in the coffin was conventional squatting. So it was far less weight than we've been doing with our box squats. So it was supposed to be volume day, and it was, at least for me, it was a little bit more of a range of motion. I think I was dipping past or below parallel with a few of the reps, and then after a certain point, it was just whatever I could get, I was happy to get. But I was going for more reps than anything.
Well, there we go with the novel stimulus then. If we're doing mostly box squats and then we switch it up and do that,
Exactly.
you become a liability. Your muscles, they don't like that. They like predictability. They like to be ready for everything. But it's a shame that in fitness, you can only get so far doing the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
You're going to need to change things up at least every 6 to 8 weeks at the most. So that way you don't, just plateau and never break through.
If you made it like 6 to 8 weeks without changing a single thing from, like across week to week or day to day even, you're crazy.
First of all, that would be really boring.
Yeah.
Second of all, I could see you hitting a wall a lot quicker than otherwise. So
it's interesting though, because there are people who train that way, and I'm thinking like Eastern Bloc countries who have the reputation of a lot of the same thing.
But they're smarter than, debatably smarter than the Americans at the time. Like we're talking like Soviet
70s,
era.
80s.
They had some real innovative methods when it comes to training, because for these people in the Eastern Bloc, this was the profession that they were pretty much forced to go into.
Dude,
so this is crazy. Like a legitimate job for these guys. I remember this one thing that I heard about the communist trainees at the time, the people who were working to get to the Olympics and stuff like that for weightlifting. they were so surprised to hear that the Americans were doing this on their own volition. And they're just like, why? Why? Like, these people probably were picked at a very young age due to their aptitude, their natural strength, and genetic traits that make them the likely choices to be the ones to train for the national team.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't get a choice about it. They're just like, what if I wanted to be a painter? Like, I want to paint watercolor, but no, I gotta go and do squats every day.
Heavy squats.
Yeah, and twice a day probably, maxing out.
Yeah.
So just a little interesting tidbit there.
That is interesting. I'm curious to see if we were to look back at results, how much better they did, or in that era, because I feel like with weightlifting, having a strong internal drive can really set you apart from the pack.
But if these guys, this was their livelihood as well, like, this is what is, I don't really know how the monetary system works, but I'm inferring that they still earn something from, whatever job you're forced to do, say in Soviet Russia or whatever. So they still, even though it probably wasn't their passion, they were still probably taking it pretty seriously.
They lived in
inside
compounds.
themselves. Yeah.
I mean, they just ate, slept, and trained, right?
They probably did a little watercolor painting too.
Yeah, to keep sane. Just a little bit, but even then, probably just painting barbells.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Crazy. I'm sure they got DOMS all the time.
That Cerakote.
Dude, if they had DOMS, they'd probably get in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, stop it.
Lashings. Well, back to the topic of soreness, though. I wanted to mention, we've already spoken about novel stimulus. We've spoken about increased intensity.
Mm-hmm.
What else might result in some soreness?
I think that let's look at the different ways that you could damage muscle tissue. So there's mechanical stress or mechanical damage, which I think happens at a more, I don't want to say cellular. It's a smaller level for sure. I'm talking like micro tears in the muscle tissue itself.
Well, what mechanical damage would be from, if I'm understanding it correctly, would be from weight, moving weight.
Right.
Like, that is going to be
right.
The mechanical damage. So,
which is different from like metabolic.
Yes, because that's going to be more taxing for your energy systems.
Right. And both cause a significant amount of fatigue. And I think depending on the effort level, depending on how novel the stimulus is, or if it is at all, and of course external load, because you can have a pretty low load relative to what you're able to lift and still high effort. For example, the other day when we did AMRAP squats at 135, and we thought we were going to get sore, but we didn't. So I think the effort was high, especially across the last few reps, but the load was too low. And so it didn't cause either mechanical or metabolic stress.
I think it did cause metabolic stress because that turned into a cardio session.
Right.
So you definitely
right.
were working in the getting into the oxidative pathway there.
Mm-hmm.
With that. You've exhausted your first two energy supply modes and getting into the last one. So that's another good thing, though, is to be able to train for all modes of energy delivery to be able to increase your potential in all realms.
Yeah.
So this is like the difference between running the 40-yard dash and running the, like, I don't know, like 400-meter sprint or I don't know if you can sprint 400-meter. I don't know, whatever Usain Bolt likes to run.
Yeah.
Hate running. But while I don't think you can characterize metabolic fatigue or even neurological fatigue with DOMS, because you don't get sore freaking neurons and sore nerves.
No, that'd be weird.
Or you don't get sore like mitochondria or anything like that. Or maybe you do. I don't know. You just don't notice. Maybe that's why my arm hurts right now. But these still will play into your overall level of training. Like you don't want to fill that bucket too much and then have the stress outweigh what good you're trying to do for your body.
Right.
So you must consider all those facets when it comes to overtraining, because it can happen. I feel like right now, like of all times, like I feel like I am on the verge of tipping into a bad part of overtraining right now. Especially because like I feel like both my elbows just feel like they're gonna blow up at any moment. Huh? So it's time for me to take a little break.
Well, there's that. If you think of it like as a line graph, you have fitness and fatigue kind of headed in one direction. So as you know, let's say fitness starts, I don't know, 50% or something like that, just baseline, and fatigue is, let's say it's low on the graph, so at the bottom, 0.
Well, they have an inverse relationship.
Exactly. So as one goes up, the other one's going down, regardless of
muscle and strength pyramids.
Yeah, dude, great. That's a great pamphlet right there.
Yep.
A great pamphlet. Should think about reading it some more.
Yep, I agree. But that is definitely something to consider along the lines of soreness, is also the fatigue that you don't feel.
Yeah.
The recovery that it needs to take place, even though you're not getting such a loud signal. So that definitely is worth noting.
It's more subtle, and in some ways might be, I don't know. I mean, so DOMS can really scream in your face sometimes.
Well, that's true, but this just reminded me of the app that you used to use to track your mental capabilities.
The CNS?
Yes.
The central nervous system. So I don't remember the exact name of the app. I'll pull it up here because it's really cool. And
this give you like a tangible thing to look at about how your state is, your neurological system. So that's something that without that app, you really kind of just go off feel.
Yeah, so I got this idea from a book that I was reading.
The Bible?
No, it's called Never Let Go by Dan John, who's like this really cool old school strength training coach, and he does like the what are those games where you throw things? The Highland games. It's from the 70s, so a lot of his principles they're pretty old school, but he never stopped trying to accumulate knowledge, and so I think that's what set him apart, made him a really fantastic coach. Although he's old school, he had his finger on the pulse and kept accumulating things that would help increase his performance and results down the line. So one of the things he talked about was measuring your central nervous system fatigue, because that's not something you can feel right out of the gate.
Man, what app was he using in the 70s?
Nothing. So what he had was a pencil, and he would just do dots. So the app that I have is called CNS Tap Test, and for a small charge you get this app. It's really basic and straightforward. It has 2 buttons on the bottom, one that says left, one that says right. So let's say you start with your right. What it has you do is tap a circle as fast as you can, as many times as you can, just making sure to keep your hand in one position for 10 seconds. After that 10 seconds, it tells you how many times you're able to tap. Then you do the same with your left. So you do this every day around the same time of day, making sure that your hand is anchored in the same way, so there's consistency, because you need to have that consistency to get reliable results. After a few weeks, or maybe even a week or 2, what you have is a data set showing what your nervous system looks like. So on days where you end up tapping the button far less, it's a good indication, although not set in stone, that your central nervous system is fatigued and could use a little bit more recovery. So back in the day, they did that same thing with a pencil. You take a pencil, sheet of paper, you do dots. You count the dots, and let's say you got 60 today, and you trained really hard for 4 weeks, and you're starting to average like 50 or 45. Well, obviously, because you can't, your central nervous system can't contract the muscles necessary to tap a pencil on a piece of paper, you know that it's fatigued. And so it's not going to be lifting maximal weight on any of the lifts.
And that seems like a really useful tool because that can save you from the pitfalls of actually reaching the point in fatigue to where you can notice it without having to do a test like that. Just you wake up and you feel tired or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you're doing everything the same as you were, but it's not going quite as smoothly as it had before.
Yeah.
So it could be a great preemptive measure to getting to that point. Like say you flunk hard on your test on a Tuesday or something, decide to take it easy for the next couple days. That way you're ready to hit it hard again come the next week.
And that's the theory with it. But I ran into issue when I had been using it for a few months very consistently and really enjoying it. But I found myself falling into this habit of where I would score low, like relatively low. And I mean, there aren't really guidelines on this type of thing, at least that I know of. I also didn't look that hard. But it would have been helpful to know like how low is too low to the point where you should consider adjusting your training program, because I found myself on many occasions scoring relatively low, like 5 to 10 points less than my usual, and then deciding, all right, I'm going to scale back a little bit today. Like, was that actually a good idea, or did I leave some gains on the table?
It was probably a good idea because honestly, if you were to cut a set or something, like do 3 sets instead of 4 sets, or skip one workout, nothing like that I feel like is going to be enough to hold you back at all.
Yeah.
But preserving your fortitude throughout your CNS and your muscles and everything like that will in time translate into greater gains, I would assume.
Yeah.
So I think that when it comes to your fatigue and overtraining, it's always going to be in your favor to take a step back when you feel like you need to, like listen to your body and give it what it needs, because the gains aren't going to come in one day and they're not going to be gone in one day either. You miss one workout, maybe if it was a workout that you missed because you not because you were feeling fatigued or anything, you just skipped it for some reason. Maybe that is some lost time there, but again, nothing that's gonna sink the ship.
No.
So I think that respecting what your body needs and playing the long con is going to be
smart.
Typically the better idea.
The long con.
Instead of like right now, I'm thinking about this from a very personal standpoint right now. Because we have decided that we're probably gonna deload a week earlier than we wanted to. And I feel like it's my fault because my body is just falling apart for some reason. We've been training really, really hard, and it's only been 3 weeks in this current block since we had a deload. Albeit our last deload was we could have gone easier. But
we were excited.
I feel like it's finally catching up with me. So like whereas I'm not getting debilitating soreness or anything like that, I'm getting pain, which is worse.
Well, that's another thing. So what you're saying here is to listen to your body, which is just another form of subjective feedback. And so the CNS tap test is objective feedback. That's something that gives you numbers and data points. It's pretty concrete. You know, you either score on average, or it's high, or it's low. I mean, other than that, there's not much else you can do with that app. It's going to tell you what you did, and that's about it. But subjectively, you listen to your body and you take that biofeedback, so like pain in this case, and you go, oh shit, that hurts. It hurts when I do this. It hurts when I do this also. So listening to that cue is the same as looking at the app and going, I scored low. All right, take it easy today. And so just being able to balance out all those data points, I guess. I mean, that's really what it is. You could chart your pain too if you really want to get crazy, but you don't really have to. It's something that you carry with you. And so stand alone, it's effective as long as you listen to what your body is saying.
Well, and that's another thing that's easier said than done too. When you have a schedule and you have a plan for what you want to do for your fitness, and something like this comes, something unexpected like this, even though you should always be prepared for you know, a nagging little injury or something like that to come up, because you know it's going to happen at some point in your career, probably multiple times. It's hard to say no and say like, I'm gonna skip this one. Like yesterday, I felt like such a Nancy for not finishing my weighted pull-ups. Only got half the sets I wanted to get in, but in the long run, it's gonna be worth it to preserve what you have left and start to try to recover from there. It's like when like your settlement gets attacked and you have to rebuild defenses, but if you don't rebuild defenses and another attack comes, it's going to be worse.
Yeah, so you better take the time and do what you need to do. So it totally makes sense. And I think going back, like what we were talking about last episode, ego's not going to be the amigo there. So just being able to listen to what your body's saying and then make that call without hesitation and going or any kind of regret either. Like you might feel bummed out that you didn't get to do it, but the fact is you want to live to lift another day. So it's best to just hang the cape up for the time being and then kind of just figure out what you're going to do in order to get back on track.
Usually for many different forms of pain, time is going to be the healer of all, just like, emotional pain or physical. Typically, if you take some time, step back and rest, and same for like emotional pain or whatever, though it's not the same, it's harder to escape it, I guess. Time will heal it. Right. So you've got to respect that as being one of the keystones to you getting back on track. Also, what we were talking about earlier today too is making sure your nutrition's on point is when it comes to this physical stuff. Also, I mean, with emotional fatigue, you could probably stand to continue to eat properly and not just start like eating pizza and ice cream because it feels good.
No,
that's not
idea.
That's not gonna help you in the long run.
No.
So you want to constantly be considering the big picture in this, because that is the only picture. Even though it doesn't feel like that right now, when you're in the gym for your Thursday workout, like that is the big picture then. But no, it's really not. You want to work out next Thursday and the Thursday after too. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you don't kill yourself.
And that can, in the gym, that usually happens very slowly over time. Is all you have to do is ignore what your body is saying. And we had that happen with deadlifts, and I think we had DOMS, or a form of DOMS in that case. It was more along the lines of like spasm in the low back and just tons of pain.
LBP.
Yeah, that straight up LBP.
Hurts to sit down.
Dude, it was bad. But at least initially, I guess you could probably say that was a form of DOMS.
But see, you don't want to get back to that point. Because look at how long it took us to recover from that. And to get back to deadlifting to a similar intensity in which we were before. It took a long time and a lot of confidence building, a lot of work on the form, which again is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. Like, we're not competing or anything like that. We had nothing to lose except for the hit to the ego, which ego doesn't belong in the gym. But again, far easier said to keep it out than done. So that's something that each and every one of us needs to work every day to suppress that, to make sure that we don't do any unnecessary damage. We're already doing enough damage as it is, controlled damage, but you don't want to screw yourself over, because what's your ego going to say when you get snapped up and then you can't work out at all?
It's going to
be really bad. You're
going to be like, "Oh, I'm so stupid, I can't work out."
Mine says that to me anyway.
Well, you'd be in a really bad position then if you fucked yourself up now.
So that's why it's time to take a step back. It's time to take some rest. Still gonna do the lifting on the deload, of course, but just not. You're gonna cut down the intensity by quite a bit, because, like I said, catches up with you, and you don't want to cross the line.
No, it's like a constant tug of war. I mean, fitness in and of itself, or not fitness, but working out in and of itself is something that's stress on the body. It's stress on the joints, muscle tissue.
It's give and take.
But you need to be able to supplement that with an adequate amount of rest and recovery, because Otherwise, that's when you see your fatigue go way up and your fitness go way down. And what are you good for? Nothing.
But luckily, minimum effective volume is pretty darn low.
Yeah.
So in order to maintain what you've built over, I'd say up to a month of working with, again, this is not a scientific number or anything like that. Up to a month of working with minimum effective volume, I'm sure would maintain everything you work for. That way, if you needed to really, like, due to an injury or something like that, if you needed to take that time off of your intensity, then you could, with the only downside really being missed time of working toward your progress.
Yeah.
But that's not, you got your whole life ahead of you, and nobody cares what you're doing.
No.
Everybody's doing their own thing. So
No, man, that's rule number 3. Everybody's
watching always.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
You're right, though. Nobody really does care. You know what I think is cool about
Except
DOMS?
Santa.
Yeah. Oh,
Santa catch you not working out, you're getting coal in your stocking.
Yeah. That explains every last Christmas. God. Shit. No, you know what I like about DOMS? The fact that you don't need to chase it. The fact
Exactly.
that you can make progress without getting sore.
DOMS is not an indicator of a good workout. If you work out and you are applying the concept of progressive overload and you are putting in what feels to you, because everybody's different, like a hard effort, like you're getting in there, you're pushing yourself, you are hitting your rep range in a challenging fashion, and you're not getting sore, that doesn't mean that the workout's not working. And that's a common misconception a lot of people have, is that you got to get sore.
Yeah.
The only way that it proves that you're building muscle is if you get sore. That is just unfounded.
Yeah, right. It's not proof that you did anything right or wrong. It's simply just the consequence of what you had done.
It's byproduct.
Yeah, it's a byproduct. So with that, I know I personally do enjoy being sore. So there are
It's a good
occasions
pain.
when I chase it.
I mean, it
you know?
can be.
Yeah, well, it can.
If you're not debilitating, again, look at that spectrum. You've got at the far end of it, you've got your debilitating soreness.
Yeah.
At the close end, you've got your manageable soreness here that you can go and say your hamstrings and your glutes are sore from the deadlifts that you did a few days ago, but you have deadlifts scheduled again today.
And you're
But
fine.
yeah, but you do a little bit of dynamic stretching and you hit your warm-up set, and that tends to kind of dull it or alleviate it even. So you can work through it. But if you were debilitatingly sore, then it's like you're not even deadlifting. You're not even considering deadlifting that day for the good of your body, because if you did, you'd probably get hurt.
Diminishing returns at that
Exactly.
point.
Exactly.
You've
So
gone too far.
So somewhere in the middle there, you've got that delicious pain.
Yeah.
That pain that for some reason, like, I don't understand it fully, but certain pain is good. Certain pain feels good.
It's a good hurt.
You know in your head that it's pain. You know in your head that it hurts. But at the same time, it's like, for me, like a bruise or something. I could press on a bruise and it's just like, that's good pain.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So let us know if you have ever experienced any good pain and what that is. Because people have different definitions of what good pain are. For instance, my girlfriend, Jesselyn, if someone touches a bruise on her, she will cry. It hurts very bad for her. But I touch my own bruise all the time just because it feels good. So
I heard a good
different
pain
strokes.
was giving birth.
Some
Some people like that. Man.
Yeah, actually, one of my friends, he gave birth.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's
Interestingly enough. Yeah, post-operation, transsexual, but
awesome. He liked it.
oh yeah, he loved it. That friend, Ian Motley. Did you know he got a new warranty on his car?
Dude, what does it cover?
Nothing.
Holy crap. I'm glad you just handed that card info over.
You have to. When spam caller calls, you get that warranty.
Yeah, don't even hesitate. Card info comes out instantly. They like that too. They hang up on you.
Yeah, dicks. Just trying to help.
No, I do like soreness though. But last week I wasn't anticipating the fact that I wouldn't be able to walk or sit down or, do like normal things. I was just trying to go crazy on my squats, and I did. The unintended consequence of that was debilitating level DOMS. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been like my calves, but it was pretty bad.
So you have experience with multiple different levels. So from person to person, that debilitating point might come sooner or later, depending. Like, so for someone who has less of a pain tolerance, that kind of stuff, the debilitating soreness might come pretty darn quick, and they won't be working out, and they will be, laid up for a little while. But for a guy like you, even if you get nearly debilitatingly sore, so sore that it hurts when you sit up and down off the toilet, you're still going to go about your day. You're not going to let that stop. You're going to laugh every time you sit on the toilet. You're gonna be like, oh my God.
So
just
good.
like, oh.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. What was I going to say? Oh, I don't know if you remember, but being a beginner and starting out, and like, dude, the first set of bicep curls I ever did hurt so much.
I have a good story.
Yeah.
This is back from one of the first times I ever lifted weights when I was probably like 14 years old. I recall there was bicep curls involved. There was bench press involved. I can't remember exactly everything else that there was, but the day after I did this workout at school, I couldn't even put on and take off my backpack because I was so locked up and in so much pain. I don't think I've ever been that sore in my life, like on upper body at least. Like, oh my God.
That's crazy. The fact that now you can do like exponentially more work than back then and not feel half as bad as that, I think that's science right there.
My biceps never get sore at all anymore. Maybe that's because I'm not hitting them hard enough, or maybe that is because they have adapted to every stressor that I've thrown at them.
Yeah.
And they've just plateaued and they're never going to grow at all. Or
forever small.
Forever 21.
I mean, you could always experiment with things like tempo too, because well, that muscle gets more damage on the eccentric. So like yesterday, my biceps haven't been sore in a long time, but they're a little bit sore today.
Really?
But yesterday we were doing incline bicep curls, dumbbell bicep curls, and that's always been one of my favorites in terms of that stretch at that bottom. So the really controlled eccentric, just feeling your muscle rip apart. And it worked as I focused on that. It also doesn't happen every time. There have been times where I focused on the eccentric and I was fine the next day. I thought I'd be like dying, but no.
You never know. So that's another thing that worth mentioning from person to person. First of all, it's going to take different amounts of work to get different muscle groups sore. So for me, for instance, as I just mentioned, biceps very rarely get sore. Triceps, they'll probably get sore at least once per week.
Yeah.
Quads almost never get sore, but hamstrings and glutes, they will get sore almost at least once per week from one of our posterior chain workouts. Like today, for instance, after we did those staggered stance / single leg deadlifts yesterday, my butt is freaking toasted from that. Like it's not debilitating by any means, but wow, I can feel it when I touch it.
Yeah,
like it's
obvious.
sore. Yeah, but it's weird how that happens. Like my abs, I will get DOMS in the abs. I'll get DOMS in the chest. Far less frequently will I get it in the shoulders.
Yeah.
So like from doing our heavy overhead press and stuff like that, or even from any of our direct shoulder work. I hardly ever feel it. Like if I feel it in the shoulders, it's almost always like more pec related. Like, right at that junction point there. Yeah. So from person to person, different muscle groups may either require a higher workload in order to get sore, or possibly have a greater tolerance, because I'm not going to go and smash my quads any harder than we're smashing them just to chase the soreness.
No.
Like
Not necessary.
The volume that I throw at them and the intensity that I throw at them is right in line with that in which I am throwing at my other muscle groups. Probably even higher than some of them, such as the arms. Like I'm certainly doing a heck of a lot more work on my quads than I am doing on my triceps, yet the triceps will get sore and the quads will not. Not complaining, but it's there.
Dude, case in point, calves. I'm telling you, if you spend right now 5 minutes just doing straight calf raises with maybe a little external load, attached to your body as well, like, man, you'd be messed up. Maybe you don't even need external load. You could just do calf raises, body weight for 5 minutes straight.
Or remember when we ran down Tuamac?
Oh God, yeah, that was
Wrecked
terrible.
the calves.
Yeah, that was another one for that. Calves took a beating, but I think that while the calves can definitely take a lot more frequency. Obviously, like, they help us walk around.
They're likely
twitch.
to be like type 1 in most people, even though in every different muscle group that you have is going to be a mixture of slow and fast twitch muscle fibers. So you can't just say like
hybrid.
Yeah. Type 2X.
Yeah.
So like the calves, you have to assume, just based on the history of humankind and everything like that, most people probably have majority type 1, which is the fast twitch fibers in the calves, because your walking is basically just like tons and tons of reps for the calves every time you take a step. Like, those calves are working, so they need to be able to handle and need to be able to endure lots of reps, a lot of time being used. But then to set them over the edge and to make them sore, like you said, do some dedicated calf raises, which is like different than walking, of course, or running, or add weight to it, and then that'll be a great way to deliver that novel stimulus, because that's what they're used to. Is they're walking, running, maybe a little bit of jumping, maybe a little bit of shuffling, but not a whole heck of a lot of standing on your tiptoes, then stretching past in a deep dorsiflexion. Like, that's not nearly as natural of a movement as your gait. So
all it takes is that external load, the time under tension, and bam.
But there's probably people out there who can say that, like, yeah, I never get sore calves. Like, I rarely work them. When I do, they don't get sore. So I'm sure that is a possibility.
I felt I was at a point maybe kind of like that. I mean, I don't want to say they didn't get sore at all, but just doing them more consistently.
Of course, yeah.
You know? They
That's
the
thing. That you have removed the novel stimulus. If you're doing it frequently, then it's no longer novel.
Yeah.
But for us, like right now, like, we haven't done any calf raises in a month. And that's not because we don't love our calves. It's just that we've got more important things to work on. We're already spending upwards of 2 hours per workout. And calf raises and forearm curls and neck extensions. Yeah, these are things that just don't quite fit in the routine. We would much prefer to spend the majority of our time working on compound lifts, so we get bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Not a whole heck of a lot of bang for the buck with a calf raise.
Nah. I mean, that's the type of thing that I guess you could pepper in like its own individual accessory day, but not 100% necessary. Depends on your goals.
Well, I think for the sake of being well-rounded, like, we should definitely be doing calf raises, but it's just that it's not fitting for us right now. And that's, if anything is going to end up a forgotten muscle, I'm going to let it be the calves. I'm going to let it be the forearms, because I would much prefer my LPHC and my shoulders and chest and core. I would much prefer these muscle groups to be more well developed, because if I'm not doing a ton of calf raises, I don't really need my calves to have that extra ability, you know. Yeah, I would like the aesthetic that it brings in a larger muscle, but I would much prefer to have strong glutes, so, and strong shoulders, so that way I don't end up with some sort of posture problem or tearing your rotator cuff when you go to toss a football or something like that, or low back pain. These are much more pertinent areas to address.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, grand scheme.
No, I agree. But what are you going to do about your peroneals, or whatever that muscle is?
Just
your anterior tibialis, man.
Well, see, the anterior tibialis I could stand to work on, because that MFer gets tight when I run.
Oh, shit.
I hate it. So I think I'm going to bide for amputation.
Yeah, you won't need it in the
Yeah,
long run.
you don't need to go running if you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah, you can go rolling.
Yeah, rolling, I guess, but no. In all actuality, I every day you wake up and you're not in a wheelchair. You got to be happy. So all the more reason, let's go do some calf raises.
All right, committed now. No, I'm trying to think of what would be a helpful tip for somebody who's experiencing DOMS. I can't say that I did much other than just waited out and made sure that I ate enough and slept enough.
I think that's the best tip that you can give is to respect the signal that your body is sending you and don't hit that muscle group that's super sore. Rest, eat nutritious foods, and wait it out. That's probably the best advice, honestly. If it's a manageable amount of pain, then go ahead and hit it again. But you need to be paying close attention to the way it feels while you are hitting it, just in case you don't want to cross that line again.
Right. Even if it's scheduled, yeah. Don't be afraid to make that call and say, I'm still way too sore. Only you can make that call. Only you can prevent forest fires.
Flexibility is key when preventing forest fires. So you need to be able to calm that ego down, skip a workout if you have to, or you don't even have to skip the workout. You could just do something different. Yeah. Keep active. That's a great way actually to stay on schedule. So I'd say if you are someone who's just starting working out, yeah, you're gonna expect to get DOMS probably a lot.
Oh yeah.
For the next little while.
And you could ease in and minimize it, but yeah, it's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, and I would actually recommend that too, is easing in. But you're still gonna get sore. Like the first time you go and bench press with the bar, you're probably gonna get sore because you've never done it before. So Ian, exactly. So take it easy if you do get sore. Don't try to rush back into it. Don't skip going to the gym if you are sore. Just do something different. Keep yourself in that routine. I think that is probably a far wiser decision than to just call it a day and just say, hey, like, I have a workout plan for this afternoon, but I am just not feeling it. I'm feeling too sore. Yeah. Go to the gym and do some stretching. Right. Still keep yourself in that routine. That will help you in the long run.
And that's part of making it a habit. That's why so I'm not really a big fan of like taking ibuprofen or any kind of NSAIDs. So anything that's going to lower your inflammation levels. I mean, if it's really bad, if you're walking around with a limp and like you need to be doing some more, I don't know.
You sell CBD, right?
Yeah, CBD, man. That's all you need. Get it at Circle K. I sell it for a markup.
Compact bathroom disc.
That's the type of CDB. Oh my god. I'll need some for my brain later.
Yeah, you will. No, it's not an NSAID.
I'm not a big fan personally because I look at it this way. You worked hard for that inflammation. Typically inflammation is not something that people want. We talk about it being a bad thing, how inflammation is it's essentially what causes pain, it's what causes disease throughout the body, and a whole variety of other negative things. But in terms of the gym, like we mentioned earlier, it's a controlled stress.
Yeah, and like acute inflammation. Yeah. On you made this for yourself. It's not like, well, I mean, usually inflammation a lot of times you do make for yourself. For instance, obesity is going to cause a lot of inflammation of like your organs.
Yeah, and you really don't want it. Your joints too.
You did bring that upon yourself, unfortunately. There may have been a lot of reasons that go into it, but still, that is it's a little bit different than actually working for it, because you're not with obesity. It kind of probably just comes on after a bit of time. Before you know it, you're dead. Yeah,
and I mean that's the type of inflammation that really doesn't feel good, and that's when you would need to consider what you're doing to lower the inflammation. In terms of post-workout, though, I'm trying to roll with that level of inflammation that I brought upon myself willingly, because I know that essentially what that inflammation is a signal for my body to go in and start repairing the muscle, and therefore increasing strength and size. So that's what happens when you dull that signal in your body doesn't see as much inflammation, and you might be sacrificing some strength and some size.
This is something you should look into to see if there's any correlation. And
I did. So there is correlation with muscle gain being impaired with use of NSAIDs post workout.
Much like alcohol can impair recovery in that sense.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, so your body's busy doing other things, or you just gave it a different signal other than the fact that it already had one going on, and so it can kind of muddle the water.
Well, I gotta make note right now that this past weekend back in Morenci, I was drinking with like 6 people.
Dude, what?
And
how many girls?
Just one, so it was kind of whack.
Freaking cool, dude.
It was kind of whack. Don't get me wrong, but on God, we were drinking.
On God?
On God.
Damn.
I hindered my recovery. Something crazy.
That's so cool, man.
And then, as far as ibuprofen or common over-the-counter pain medications, and stuff like that, I too try to avoid them. The only time that I really see them being something that I consider taking is like for headaches and stuff like that, because that's
bad.
Yeah, exactly, like, and because they really do help with that. But like, I would never, like, for the pain that I'm feeling right now, that would probably help. Honestly, it would probably help double. But this pain is not something that is headache level annoying.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely annoying, and it's more annoying for the fact that I know that it's holding me back with the workouts that I want to do. Gonna make me take a deload sooner than I wanted to and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I would never even consider taking a pain killing medication for this.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I can totally manage it. I could totally be fine.
Well, it's like a Band-Aid too at that point, because yeah, sure, you're getting rid of the pain momentarily or temporarily, but you're not treating the actual underlying cause. So I'm stubborn as hell when it comes to taking any kind of over-the-counter pain medications for headaches. I'll wait until I can't tolerate it anymore or it's a migraine, because I always say, well, something's causing this headache, whether it's tension through my neck muscles, or maybe I'm dehydrated, maybe I need to eat more, sleep more, or I'm
exactly.
stressed
Yeah,
out.
try
Address
to cover
the
those
issue.
first. Yeah. And if it doesn't go away, then maybe you can take the pill.
Once you've tried everything, or mostly everything, and it becomes pretty hard to manage, then take the pill. But otherwise, like, man, I didn't take medication when my back was aching, although I really should have, but it did help give me cues as to what helped in my recovery and what didn't. So I kind of learned a little bit more about my body. But thinking back to other things that lower inflammation, there are things like addressing inflammation through your diet. So you can have like a anti-inflammatory diet to mitigate soreness. And I'm not talking like big things here either. Just incorporating something like fish oil.
Stress mitigation as well would be something that could help with that.
Huge.
Just your overall well-being is to manage your stress, in which you also must consider all forms of stress that will come into your life, whether it be stress on your body in the gym, or if you work like a very tough manual labor job, stress that comes emotionally. These are all, your body doesn't know the difference at come a point, and they're all going to create adverse effects if not addressed.
Yeah. And just having that awareness, I think, is the most important thing. Then apart from managing your stress, eating an anti-inflammatory diet, or incorporating things like fish oil, and
make sure to stay hydrated.
Yeah, over-the-counter pain medications, you want to make sure to stay hydrated. What else could you do? You could take a hot or cold shower to lower inflammation. Like, all those things are going to help.
Meditation.
Yeah?
That could.
Do you think that'd help with soreness?
I don't think it would hurt. I don't know. I don't think it would directly help with soreness per se, but I know that it would help with stress.
Yeah.
Which would play negatively into your soreness, into your recovery. But basically, I think long story short with this, you should probably avoid taking pain medications for DOMS.
Yeah.
Because that's probably not going to be the best idea.
You work too hard for that.
So we are nearing that time now, that 1 hour mark. Is there anything that you would like to add to close us out here, John?
No, I think that I just like to say thanks for listening. 19 episodes means we've been at it for 19 weeks, which feels
actually
like
20 weeks technically, right? Because we did a bonus episode when we couldn't fit one on our hosting platform.
This is actually 20. Wow. So 20 weeks, that's a long ass time, man. And I'm glad, as we've said in the past before, I'm glad that we can continue to keep doing this and helping other people learn as we learn ourselves, and just spreading good information. So
Yeah, that's what
thank
we're
you.
trying to do. If we're on here spreading bullshit, please call us out, because
Yeah.
that's not our goal here. So if you have any concerns about the content or any questions, anything you'd like to hear covered, please let us know. We'd be happy to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all, and good night.
Good night.